The John Wick franchise has admitted to its biggest flaw ahead of Keanu Reeves' return. The John Wick franchise has grown into a major IP over the years, but it has just admitted its biggest flaw ahead of Keanu Reeves' apparent return. Since 2014, Keanu Reeves has starred as the titular character in the neo-noir action thriller film series, featuring in 4 movies in total. The John Wick franchise has mostly centered around the legendary hitman's reluctant return to the criminal underworld, exploring various missions and threats following his venture out of retirement. However, John Wick 4's ending provided a pretty definitive conclusion for the famous Keanu Reeves action character due to his unfortunate death. While there have been various spin-off projects to expand the beloved franchise, from comic books to TV shows, for the longest time, it looked like we had seen the last of John Wick following the 4th movie's conclusion. However, in a shocking turn of events, Keanu Reeves was confirmed to return in John Wick 5 at CinemaCon in April 2025, with Chad Stahelski set to direct. While there haven't been many John Wick Chapter 5 updates since, as it is still early days, the announcement of Keanu Reeves' return essentially admitted that the franchise cannot work without John Wick himself. While The Continental, from the world of John Wick, was a decent spin-off series, it proved that upcoming John Wick movies and TV shows would suffer without Keanu Reeves. The Continental was a Peacock original miniseries which starred Colin Woodell as a young Winston Scott in the 1970s, detailing how he came to be the proprietor of the New York branch of the Continental chain of hotels, which provide a safe haven for professional assassins. The series only aired 3 episodes, and it scored a decent 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was still a far cry from the films. Although the Continental built more on the expanding world of John Wick, offering Winston Scott a proper backstory and providing more history of how the Continental came to be, it didn't quite capture the balance in runtime or the overall feel of the movies. As a result, the series has received somewhat mixed reviews. Therefore, while it functioned well as a miniseries, it is no surprise that the Continental update stated it was unlikely for renewal for Season 2, as the characters could not live up to the presentation standards set by Keanu Reeves' John Wick in the films. Fortunately, the John Wick franchise's next spin-off will include Keanu Reeves once more. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina is an upcoming movie set between the events of the 3rd and 4th films. This timeline allows Ballerina to have an easy John Wick universe connection, as it means Keanu Reeves is free to return without retconning Wick's death in the 4th movie. Ballerina is scheduled to be released by Lionsgate in June, and is said to follow ballerina assassin Eve McCarroll as she begins training in the traditions of the Ruska Roma to avenge her father's death. With John Wick returning in Ballerina, we will see Keanu Reeves as the fan-favorite hitman grace our screens for the first time since 2023's conclusive ending. However, there's a host of other actors joining John Wick's cast in Ballerina, including newcomers Gabriel Byrne, Catalina Sandino Moreno, and Norman Reedus. While it will be great to see John Wick again, as his inclusion makes the spin-off much more interesting for fans of the franchise, with his character not being the focus of the film, the movie may still be at risk of poor reception, mirroring the Continental spin-off. While spin-offs are certainly fun, they simply cannot replace a John Wick sequel, so John Wick Chapter 5 starring Keanu Reeves is probably the safest option for the franchise. The Continental miniseries tried to shift the focus onto another character in the John Wick universe, a young Winston Scott, in order to flesh out the world of the assassins. However, the majority of fans did not care enough about Winston Scott in the movies to dedicate themselves to an entire TV series. Therefore, it is important for prominent and likable characters to return in the John Wick Chapter 5 sequel. As the titular character, it doesn't make much sense to have another John Wick movie without John Wick himself appearing. That being said, the next installment will need to address the 4th movie's ending, which suggested John Wick had finally met his demise. Consequently, John Wick, Chapter 5 could be similar to the first movie, in that the character will somehow need to come back from the dead, mirroring 2014's movie arc of him coming out of retirement. Either way, Keanu Reeves' return is a safe option for the franchise's next John Wick project, as he has proven his likability. The truth is that, while I love the world of John Wick, it is Keanu Reeves' character that makes me want to keep watching. Following the success of the first movie, director Chad Stahelski explained his plan for building a John Wick universe, which focused on many different characters and aspects of the assassin's world. In fact, Stahelski recalled stating, "Let's go full Lord of the Rings," in reference to the franchise's expansive world. So, while it makes sense that spin-offs about different characters will be explored to realize Stahelski's plan, the franchise may move away from John Wick's story. Keanu Reeves has notably done many of his own stunts in John Wick, showing his dedication to the role. The inherent likability of the actor in real life even carries over into the movies, as John Wick is actually quite a funny character, despite his murderous profession, with the franchise poking fun at its own genre at times. From the beginning, John Wick's tragic story and extraordinary combat skills captured the audience's attention, drawing us to the franchise in 2014. So, while world building is great, more John Wick content will always be better, especially with Keanu Reeves at the helm.